Good morning and welcome to another Partner Focus Day. Very pleased to be joined by Dimitri Krasik from Medius. Dimitri, I should know your product inside out by now. We've spent so long talking about how good you are, and I know we've done events over the last couple of 3 years, and you guys have been long-standing supporters of the APA community. It's very good to have you on the show and really get an update for those who don't know who you are. If that's at all possible, given the wonderful advertising your team do and the marketing stuff. But for those who don't know you from our membership or wider social media audience, would you kindly introduce the range of solutions that you can offer, please?
Thank you, Mike. Yes, so Medius is focused on AP automation. We were founded by a CFO 22 years ago who understood that despite ERP's core capabilities, actually managing, digitizing invoices and workflow and everything else around that is not a core competency of the ERP system, and created a company that specializes in that. So what we're doing in brief is any invoice that comes into any one of a number of AP inboxes as an attachment, we're digitizing that. E-invoices from government tax authorities like Italian, FDI, etc., are brought in through the invoicing network. And then we have a set of different workflows depending on whether it's PO-based, whether it's an agreement matching for kind of recurring quarterly charges, or it needs to be coded and approved by somebody. And a lot of AI techniques around that to make sure that the complexities of those workflows actually succeed at a high level. And primarily, we're focused on industries, customers that have a lot of stuff: retail, manufacturing, wholesale, distribution, logistics, food and beverage, restaurants, etc. So you have a lot of orders, you have a lot of suppliers, things are not trivial in your accounting. This is where we can really help.
Yeah, you excel at complexity and have been telling us for many years the value of being able to automate and clear up some of those headaches that typically from month to month and quarter to quarter become a real challenge for our members who are often maybe under resourced sometimes in their teams. They're certainly under pressure. But for anyone looking at moving their business forward, what makes an AP automation project successful, in your opinion?
So success in terms of an AP project, in my mind, is measured a lot around what are the core problems you're trying to solve. So it's around the efficiency of the process so that you don't need to keep on a very large and continually growing AP team. You can have a few, or depending on your size, many, but the right proportion of people with good skills and capabilities and the right tools. So touchless processing rate, that's a big part of achieving success. And to do that, you need to have very good digitization at a line level, because with stuff and with complex AP needs, real AP needs, you get an invoice, it references two different orders. You get an invoice, it's a partial invoice for a partial receipt. So all those complexities, if your workflow is not able to handle it, then your touchless processing rate goes down, it goes into a manual queue, you're not achieving that level of efficiency. So the second thing I would say is the usability for your business, because you can have very strong automation rules and everything like that, but when it does go to an exception, when you have an extra freight charge or a price or quantity variance, what does that look like to the business user, to the merchandising manager or the GM at a certain site? If it's very clunky and complex and hard to train, hard to use, they're going to default to whatever is the easiest route. And oftentimes that'll be, well, I'm just going to update the order to whatever's on the invoice.
Yeah.
Well, there you're losing margin, you're losing visibility, and that's a clunky process for a business as well. So if they've got more important things, they're going to put that off and go do those things. And now you have the delays and the issues with escalations from suppliers. So having a really good UI that makes things very simple for the business, they can see exactly what the problem is, They don't need much training. A one-pager should do for them to be able to really know, okay, click here, put in a comment, approve, reject, off it goes. And AP takes care of the rest. And those two things, high level of automation, touchless processing, and really strong UI, to me, that's the foundation of a really successful project.
And so, just thinking logically, then that translates into some pretty clearly definable business outcomes that anyone could seek to expect. Just summarize those if you wouldn't mind. I mean, I can think of several, but you've got a pretty good idea already, I guess.
Yeah. So I think key things there are really, what are the problems that we solve? One, the biggest problem that you can possibly have in an AP team is that suppliers are not getting paid on time, and that you, as a result, have escalations where suppliers are threatening to put you on hold or actually putting you on hold, escalating up to executives and creating problems with actual operations. Things that hit your clients where goods are not on the shelf. So the second thing I would say is a higher cost in terms of processing invoices, where you have a lot of people in your AP team, potentially other parts of the business, where really there's a big time sink to process the invoice and therefore a high cost. How can we lower that and therefore save some cost on staffing very transactional, very simple things, and use your resources in the organization for the most important bits? And then I would say the other things really have to do with capturing more early payment discount for those suppliers that are keen to get cash early, and you can generate actually some real revenue out of the AP team. And on the other hand, DPO, extending DPO. Well, you can get more working capital if your suppliers feel very confident that you actually do pay on time. You're not going to have a very good time negotiating with suppliers to extend from 60 to 90 days if today you're regularly paying late. So it gives you more negotiating power, and that can help you with margin. It can help you with working capital, and actually get better service and quality from your suppliers.
Yeah, and I know from speaking to yourself and other colleagues that you are entirely ERP agnostic. You cope with multi-site, multi-region, multi-currency as standard, and we'll have a look in a minute. I'd like to have a look at the beautiful UI, but you've spent a lot of time in investing in AI. But I hear a lot. Obviously, I meet a lot of partners, and our members are always asking what's going on in the world of AI. Everyone wants to know how people are implementing and adopting what they understand AI to mean, and for many it means different things. But could you speak briefly into what you guys have been doing in that area, both in terms of maybe embedding AI, but also the user interface as well?
Yeah, this is, together with fraud, AI is one of our biggest areas of research and development, and what we're funding in terms of our engineering team. So generative AI has, on the one hand, created a user interface, you could say, for people, which is natural language, right? So you've got this database of information about what's the status of an invoice, or how should I do something, and you can cope with it now in Medius. We have this technology, and it's going to be general release very shortly. We already have customers running it for both suppliers and people within the business to be able to communicate to a finance chatbot in natural language. What's the status of my invoice? When am I going to get paid? Yeah. So that's the use of generative AI. Very powerful, can essentially add another person, which has unlimited amount of capability in terms of bandwidth for the simple tasks. The other thing is what we call autonomous for invoices. So for POs, obviously you can do touchless processing and matching, but for invoices that don't have an order to match against, using real machine learning, analyzing what's happened in the past, and using predictive capabilities to be able to auto code, and again, make that the life of the merchandising manager, of the head of marketing, easy. So when an invoice comes in and they haven't created a PO, it's pre-coded.
Yeah.
All they need to do is click approve. So those are two core things. And then fraud detection, which is really around using a series of risk factors and analyzing in a sophisticated way what's coming into the business to prevent what we see as growing and increasingly complex and sophisticated fraud schemes. The AI will also have quite a risk to business, and we are getting ahead of that with some very significant capabilities there.
And we unpacked that together at the House of Lords strategic briefing last year, and that continues to be, again, perennially one of the most important areas that our members are looking at now, fraud and compliance both. But listen, I know we're going to have the opportunity to unpack some of that with you at the forthcoming masterclass that you guys are going to be bringing a bit of an update on that, aren't you? When is that?
June 20th. So it's entitled AI and Automation. Show me the returns.
Show me the money, as they say. But look, just a quick plug. Obviously, we've updated our website recently. There's a link to the new Medius partner section, obviously, and for members, there's loads of resources in the members hub, and Natalie and the team from Medius are very good. Keep that updated with lots of content, case studies, and loads of rich resources. But enough about our new website. Before we wrap up, I wouldn't mind having a look at this sexy software. If you could take us through just a quick demo. I say demo.
Absolutely.
Quick preview. We said no one wants to.
Enough talk.
Yeah,
enough talk.
Show me the money.
I'm just going to show you a few things here to just let you touch and feel what this is all about. So here is us digitizing a PDF invoice that's come in. Okay. And what you can see here is we're capturing item, order number, all of the details of the line item. This is critical for businesses in those industries that I mentioned, because you're going to have partial receipting, partial invoicing, multi-PO invoices, etc. And we can handle all that with the capture capability here.
Yeah.
Also, you'll see from the very beginning, we're doing risk assessments. Hey, this looks like a duplicate invoice, and we're doing this across company. So if you have multiple entities, suppliers being a little tricky or making mistakes, we're going to be able to catch that. But there's a ton of different risk assessments. I'm going to show you some of the other ones. So if I come back here and I look at the matching process, okay, what we have here is also a capability to look at all of those line items. So here's an invoice with a bunch of different line items, multiple orders. You can see we have 3 different orders here. And on the right-hand side, we're showing the business user only what they need to see. The one line where we found the problem, and they just click on the exclamation mark. They see the variance, 374. I'm going to say rejected. This is not according to March 2024 price list. And I can reject back either with short pay or a credit memo request, depending on the region. And this will automatically create a document with all of the instructions, the references, etc., which will be emailed to the supplier. Hey, you owe us a credit memo, or we're going to short pay you a certain amount.
Yeah.
And you can see the details here. Here's all of the lines from the invoice and the underlying PO and goods receipt data, but we've simplified all of that for the user. They just click, approve, reject, put in a comment, done. Likewise, we talked about autonomous. So for non-PO invoices, here's a service invoice. We've automatically coded that. We've applied a coding suggestion that we believe you want. So basically, we have enough confidence from previous invoices from the supplier to know that this is related to facility management, Department 10, repairs and maintenance for building. And to add to that, in terms of the capabilities around AI, generative AI. So here's me, Medius, using Medius, well, I need to share that tab, receiving a comment from my boss, hey, can you check on this invoice that's come in from a co-working space we use? And I have this co-pilot on the right where I can type in, how do I approve an invoice?
As they say, other co-working spaces are available.
Yeah. So it's going to give me instructions, references to our documentation, how to approve an invoice, boom. Or I could actually ask it just, hey, what's the status of a particular invoice? And it'll tell me pending approval, etc. But this is a real co-pilot, like a finance tool, like a finance person, but I don't need to go email somebody. I can just type in here and it will guide me in an interactive way.
So again, just easy to use. Yeah, like it.
Yeah. And
Cool.
then lots of analytics, figuring out where the bottlenecks are. Here's my third largest supplier and I'm having a very low touchless processing rate. I can drill into it, see the trends, understand what is the cause of it. So very briefly, if you want to see the real thing, there's the webinar coming up on the 20th. There's presentations you can have with us at the APA event.
Yeah, conference coming up in October. Obviously, you're out and about at some of the other events throughout the year, and we'll be supporting you on some as well. I know you've been busy with your team. Dimitri, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for giving us an update. And yeah, we very much look forward to seeing you at the conference later in the year as well.
Thank you, Mike.